I wanted to share this fun little project that I had just started this weekend. And for a little bit of background context, I just started learning how to DJ about a month ago now, and I'm at the stage now where I'm putting together 1 hour long DJ mixes and recording myself, performing it, both in audio and in video. This is to just help me catch some of my mistakes and also build confidence in front of an audience mixing music together. And in watching some of these recordings back, I've realized that it could get a little bit boring in between songs before I start mixing from one song to another. So when I upload these videos to YouTube, I've been wanting to put together some visuals to go along with it to make it somewhat interesting. And for a while, I've been pretty obsessed with seeing visuals of all different DJs when they perform either at clubs or at festivals on the screens that go around them. Some DJs have had some really interesting visuals that I've seen when I went to shows. And I was also curious about how they created these, what software exists out there. And I took a look at some of the programs. So there's one called Magic Music Visuals, and then there's another one called Synesthesia, I think it's pronounced. And when I was looking at these websites and some of the examples that people created with them, I wasn't too impressed. And this is also just coming from someone who is a very visual oriented person, a graphic designer. So I figured if I was going to do this for myself, I wanted to create something that matched a little bit more my style. And on top of that, these softwares come with their own costs to be able to use and license it. And I figured since I've been also building my own apps lately, why don't I try building some sort of visualizer type of tool? It reminds me of the days when I used Winamp and they had the Winamp visualizer that went alongside the music. And I always thought those were super fun and cool, but what would a modern day version of that look like and in my own style? So I spent the past weekend just starting to see if I could build a tool out that could do this. And I think I put together something that's really, really interesting. And not only can it just create looping videos that I could put alongside these hour-long DJ sets, but I was also able to build a live performer version of it that you could basically play live with live music and then actually have the visuals react to the music as you're playing. Okay, let's jump into what I've built so far. So this is a macOS app. I created this for macOS just because I'm going to be rendering 4K videos with it, and much better to do that on my computer processor than on a phone on an iOS app. But I called this app AwViz, just to play an audio visualizer, and it kind of looks like awful, which I thought was just really funny because I'm not really taking this too seriously at all. But when you first open up the app, you'll see a list of some projects you've already been working on. So I already created 3 different projects I was playing around with on this laptop. And you could always jump into one of them. Otherwise, you could create a new project. So when you create a new project, we'll just randomize a couple layers and put them in there. So that's why you're seeing something already there on the screen. But you'll see a few tabs here in the right-hand panel. There's video, layers, export, presenter. In this video will be just some general video settings. So there's going to be a background color. You'll get a color chooser here, be able to choose a background color. You can also put in a hex code. There's an audio track, so you could put an audio track as the backing for this video. When you click this, you'll be able to choose something. So let me just put this little audio sample that I have here. You could upload either an audio file or a video file, and it'll just extract the audio from that. But putting that in there, you could hear it. Let me mute this for now. But this is the audio track that I'll be using for the video. So I'll mute it there, but you'll see what that does later on. As far as the audio sample that you upload, that's basically how long your video loop is going to be. You could always trim it, so this audio sample is just 8.57 seconds long, but I could make it shorter than the video file. But it'll just keep looping for the whole length of that audio. If you hadn't chose audio track, then you'll be able to also modify the video length. And then you'll also be able to choose your canvas size, whether you want that to be 16 by 9, 9 by 16, or a square. Let's just stick to 16 by 9 for now. But those are the general settings that there are for the video. Let's jump into the next tab, which is layers. So as I said, when you start a new project, we'll just randomize a couple layers in there just so you're starting with something there and not just a blank screen. So here there is a moving shape layer and a mesh layer. There's quite a few different layer types, and I'll go through them one by one, but let's first look at the moving shape. So we'll just jump into the shape that was already created here, and it is this little diamond that is rotating in a circle here. So we've got some layer effects. You can make that a multiply layer effect or a difference layer effect. If you're familiar with Photoshop, you know what those do, but it makes the layer have this effect to the other colors underneath it, or you could just have it be the raw color. You could change the shape of it. It could be either a diamond, a triangle, or a circle. You could also upload a photo. So I'm actually leveraging macOS's select subject feature. So if you've noticed, if you have an iPhone, you're able to like hold down on a photo and have it basically detect the subject and remove the background on it. So when you input a photo, and I have an example here, this is actually a photo I took of a collage that I made of my cat. This is a pure photo from my iPhone, and if I were to use that as the photo, it would actually use that feature of macOS and iOS to be able to identify the subject and then cut it out. So you'll see that it clipped out the cat's face there. Be able to change the size of that moving object, so you can make it really big or really small. It's pretty fun. And then you could also change the shape path. So right now it's in an orbit, which is just a circle in the graphic. I could make that be a figure 8 as well, so you'll see my cat's face moving in a figure 8. And then there will be a perimeter, so it's just going to go around the perimeter of the frame. I thought this was pretty fun because it kind of reminds me of that like DVD animation, if you remember DVD players, where they had the DVD logo going around the corners. There's also another option here to draw your own path, so you don't have to use these options. You could actually draw your own path for that shape to follow, so let's do that for now. And then now that shape is going to follow that path around, which is pretty cool. And then for the path, you know, sometimes you might have little jitters or make some sharp corners and you might want to smooth that out. So there's a path smoothing option to make the path a little bit more smoother if you had some jagged edges in there. So number of loops indicates how many times the object is going to go around that path for the length of the video. So you saw the length of my video is almost 9 seconds. So this is how many times it should loop in 9 seconds. So if I put something like 5, it's going to go really, really fast. I can do 2, so it'll loop around that path twice before the end of the video. But for now, I think I liked how 1 looked. It's a nice, slow way to go around. Next we have what's called a shape trail. You could actually create a trail of duplicating shapes. So say for example I wanted this face to have a trail of 5. You'll now see that there's a duplicate of 5 different extra objects trailing it, and then you could take those 5 shapes and make the trail longer. So they'll be following that object around. So you could basically have that. And then there's this option to fade trail, so you could see that when we do the length shorter, it kind of gradually fades out for each duplicate. But if you unmark that, then they'll all be 100% opacity. It won't fade away. But yeah, let's do that for now. Let's increase that trail length, so have a bunch of those different faces going around that same path. You could also set the starting angle rotation of the object. And then these rotations, so this marks how many times that object is going to rotate. So the first one was how many times it's going to go around the path, but this one is now rotating the object itself. So if I did 3, you could see them now rotating around themselves 3 times. You could also change it whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise. And then the last interesting thing, since I did upload an audio track, I could have these react to the audio as well. So let me mark react to audio, and then let's have it react to the bass. And let's just turn on the bass just so you could see what happens here alongside the music. Let's go back to the video. Let's turn, oh, actually I have it here. I just need to unmute it. Okay, let's pulse the motion path. So you can see the motion path is actually pulsing with the music, and I could increase the intensity of that so it could go crazy. Okay, let's mute that for now so you can see the effect, so you could actually hear what I'm saying over the music. But as the music's playing, this is actually going to react, the motion path is reacting to the bass. And then if you also choose the shape, you could pulse the shape size, so now the shape size is now reacting to the bass of that audio track. So you could see how this could be pretty interesting. Let's leave that for now. Let's go back to our layers. Let's move on to the next layer type, which is called a mesh. So this mesh, let me put it over the cat's faces so you could see. So in the layers, you could actually reorder them. So, one will be over the other. So you could see this mesh layer is actually this color, and there's a bunch of holes punctured into them. So let's just jump into that, and we could see what the settings are for these holes. So you could set that mesh color, so you could change it to different colors if you like. I'm gonna make it blue. So that's the color of the mesh. You could decide if you want this to be like a grid, staggered, or they'll be randomized. So those are 3 default options, but then you also have an option to draw your own dots. So if I click draw dots, I could actually click around here and I could create my own mesh by just clicking dots all around there. And then when I click done, that would be my mesh instead of one of those grid, staggered, or randomized. So let's go back to grid so you could take a look at some of these other features. You could increase the density. So in grid, I could create density here, so it'll create more dots or less dots. You'll see how that goes for the staggered as well. Let's go back to grid. So let's make that density like that. I could change the shape of the holes to either be circles, triangles, or diamonds. And then I could set the hole size, so you can see the holes increasing and decreasing depending on which one you have set there, and the density. And then if you have like a triangle or a diamond, you could actually set the rotation. Circles, you won't be able to see the rotation because obviously they're circles. And then you could also set the amount of times you want these to rotate throughout the video. So it's about a 9-second video. It could have it rotate twice during that. So I put 2 down, and then you can see they're now rotating. If I had them diamonds, they could be rotating as well. Increase and decrease the hole size. Okay, so it's starting to get a little bit chaotic here, but I think that's the whole point of creating these. Let's go down. You could change the rotation direction to clockwise, counterclockwise, and as you saw as I was increasing the hole size, when they get to a certain size where they intersect, you'll see this like crazy effect. I try to get the objects to do something interesting when they intersect and they start to merge, and then the smoothing will basically kind of smooth that out for you. So they'll just merge more when you increase and decrease the smoothing there. So when it's at 0, you just see the squares, but then as you increase it, you'll start to see them merge together. You'll start to get some like pretty cool effects. That's with the triangles, and then this with the circles. But you could start to create something really interesting here. And then blurriness, you could basically make the edges blurry or not if you want. Let's make this pretty big so they merge together. And then this, you could also have it react to the audio. So we've got that audio track playing, and then we could pulse the hole size. So those holes will get bigger and smaller, and it'll be reacting to the bass or the vocals. So this track doesn't really have vocals, but you could have it react to the bass or the vocals. Let me turn on the music just for a little bit so you can see how it's playing. So you can see that they're pulsing along with the music. And that is the mesh layer style. Let me just go back to my moving shape. I think this is a little too crazy for this demo, so let me just calm this down a little bit. Won't have it rotate, and I'm gonna just decrease the trail length a little bit, and make this smaller just for the sake of the demo. Okay, go back. Let's add a new layer. There's quite a couple other layer types. So let's go to let's do plasma conductor before we do the magic wipe. But plasma conductor, I thought this would be fun. It's kind of like those orbs that you touch and then like you get the rays of light around. So in here, you'll get the option to change the ray color and draw some nodes. Let's draw some nodes so we can see what's going on here. So if I were to draw some nodes, you'll start to see some rays appearing, and I could adjust the ray softness, so that's how blurry it is. So let's let you see what the rays are doing. And let me decrease the amount of rays per node so it's a little less crazy. I put a lot of nodes here. Let me do this over again, but if I just put one, you'll see what that does. And then if I add another one, they'll start to go crazy. So you could add a bunch of nodes and then these rays will like connect to it like plasma. Let's restart over. Let me just start with one so you could see what happens here when I play with some of these settings. So as I showed you before, the ray softness blurs it. The ray thickness, so you can make it like a really thin line or you can make it really thick. Let me change the color of this. Let's keep it neutral to white so you can see this better. So that's a thickness, and then there are nodes. You could either make them hidden, it could be a tiny dot. You can't even see the tiny dot when it's a thicker line, or there's like a blob which kind of just has like a shiny glow in the center. You could smooth out the path or make it less smooth. So you see as I made it less smooth, it's a little bit more wiggly, and then if I increase it, it's very smooth. And then I could have it rotate faster around if I wanted to, and then change that direction. I could even have it still, and then you'll see it kind of just wiggles into the center. And then this too could react to the audio. So let me increase that, and then you could see how much it reacts to the audio as well. And then all these also have like the multiply and difference if you want to. Okay, so that is the plasma conductor. I could also, let me just reorder this so you could see that. And then let me go through this last layer type, which I'm calling a magic wipe. So when we add that, it'll fill up with a color, and then you could set that color, change it to whatever color you like. You could either make that be a color, a photo, or a video. Let me just show you the effect first, and then I'll show you what happens when it's a video instead of a solid color. But when I choose the wipe type, I could either make it erase or reveal. So erase is exactly what you expect. You could basically erase that and reveal with wipes what's underneath it. If I were to pick reveal, it's the opposite. So it'll start empty. Let me clear it. It'll start empty, and then when you wipe, it'll show that layer. So they're just like inverses of each other, whichever you like. And then you could also have this respond to video. So you could have the edges of that, whatever you drew there, respond to the video, or you can make the size of the brush that you used increase and decrease with the audio of the video. Let's start over here, and let's just go to draw here, and let's clear the canvas out. So we're at a solid color, but let's see what happens when you add in a video. So I'm going to choose video, and I have a sample video here. This is just like a selfie that I recorded of myself walking. So this is me walking here. And let me choose reveal so nothing shows, but if I click onto draw, let me make a really fat brush. You could now see that I'm revealing that video that I put here. So you can really see how cool this is, and it's reacting to the video. The edges and the brush size is reacting to the video. But you can see me walking there, so you could put any video there, and if the video is longer than the length of the audio, then it'll just take that first leading half and then just keep looping. You could also trim the video as well. The video will just keep looping for the length of the video that you have set in the video settings. You could also make this crazy if you wanted a difference or multiply. You could do those layer effects as well if you wanted to do something very trippy. Let's keep it like that for now. And now we've got all 4 of these layers, and I already have so many different ideas for more layers, so that's just only something that could get even bigger and more interesting. But you could see now what you could do, and you could also add multiple like meshes, multiple videos, and do all sort of cool things with this. So it is pretty infinitely scalable. So I'm just adding another mesh layer here, and then instead here I'm gonna draw a few dots all over the canvas. Done. And then I will make them super big, and I will smooth this out a little bit. So you could start to see like how interesting this can get and how many different like variants of things you can create with this tool. So I could create like so many cool different videos with all different colors, putting in different videos, different audio in the background if I wanted to. Just playing around with these layers, reordering them, putting different colors next to each other, and just create a really cool visualization. Once you're happy with what you've created, you have 2 options. You could export what you created. So you could do it 720p, 1080p, or 4K. You could choose the frame rate, 24, 30, or 60, and then you could export the video. You could even also pause the video at a point if you're like, I like this frame, and just export an image at that frame. So you could even create like some cool graphics and patterns using this tool, and create infinite types of things there. So you'll be able to export a video, and then for me, for example, with my DJ sets, I'll be able to put this as a video and have the backing be my DJ set, record a DJ set, and then it'll actually pulse and react alongside that video. The last option here is presenter. So this is if you want to basically use this project and put it with some live audio. So in presenter mode, you'll be able to choose an audio input. So you could actually do live input. So the microphone here, if you're actually playing music live with a guitar, you could just use your live input and have that be any of your inputs. So my phone even rang because I could use my phone as a audio input, or I could use any one of, like, I have a microphone attached to my computer, you could use that. But if you're playing music live, you could actually have this live react to that. Additionally, you could choose an application. So in my case, for DJing, the application I'm using is called Rekordbox. I could actually use Rekordbox as an audio source for this. So if I chose in this, for example, Rekordbox, then I could be DJing in Rekordbox, and this visualization will actually live react to the audio coming out of that application. You could even set it to be Spotify. So in the same Winamp use case scenario, you could play music on Spotify and have this thing reacting to the audio as it's playing, which is, I think, a pretty cool feature. So choose an application or live input like a microphone, it'll react live to that. Or you could just use your original audio and it'll just play that audio and loop it. But for example, like, I could choose, let me just keep it to the, well, let's stick to the application, and then you have like a couple different options here. One option that is pretty cool is that if I had added a video layer in here, I could actually replace the video layer with a video capture source. So this will actually connect to any video capture devices you might have here. So if I just give this some permission, that's me now. That's me in that layer of the video. So you could actually put in live video from your computer, and it will actually put that video feed into the video. So if you are doing a live set, you could have a camera aimed at you, and you could have it be plugging into this visualizer and be playing. So if you have all of those settings set, let me actually start this presentation. There's a Start Presentation button. If I were to play that, it would now go full screen. And imagine you have your computer connected via HDMI to a projector. You could now project this visualization onto like a big screen, and have it, receiving an audio source, and then all of this would be pulsing with the audio source. Okay, so let's have the audio pull from an app. Let's have this play some audio, and then we'll have the visualizer react to that audio, and then we'll have my live video feed, and then let's play that. So there you have it. You saw the edges of this video around this frame like pulsing alongside the music that was playing from Google Chrome, because that was playing SoundCloud. So there's kind of a lot of interesting things that you can do with this and actually use it to create some live visuals if you wanted to. But this is kind of where it's at right now after spending literally just a Saturday and Sunday, a few hours a day, just putting this together. Just as a caveat, like none of the UI is that great, but I think the point of it is to be a tool for me to really quickly generate videos, and as long as I know my way around the tool, it's pretty fun. But if you watch this demo and you are very interested in wanting to use a tool like this, I am building this as a macOS app, and even to just use it myself, I have it up in test flight. So if you are interested in using a tool like this, I could actually spend a little bit more time to make it a little bit more user-friendly and then put it up onto the App Store. But if you think that this is really cool and you want to use it, just leave a comment down on this video, and then I will think about whether or not it would be worth it to put in that extra effort to make this tool a little bit more friendly to people outside of just myself.